Listen closely and give me more than a glance. Because I'm not here to pump you full of slogans or drape you in dopamine. I'm here to pry up the floorboards of what you've been calling weakness and show you the machinery underneath. Not a lack, not a curse, but a manufactured narrative, an inherited costume, a set of convenient lies repeated so many times you mistook them for bone. If you're willing to sit in the heat without fidgeting, to let the words leak into the parts of you you've kept in the attic, something old and brittle will split, and what takes its place won't be a polished upgrade but the original shape, raw, exact, unbothered, that's been buried under politeness and fear. Nietzsche didn't write lullabies for the fragile, he wrote for those ready to meet the ferocity of life with their eyes ungloved, for those done with waiting for rescue, done with bending the knee to approval, done with outsourcing the steering wheel. If that's you, if you've had your fill of fear, passivity, apology, and the sugar water of emotional inflation that turned you translucent, then this isn't a makeover, it's excavation, a return to ground truth. Because the strength you ache for isn't out there, it's under the sediment of self-doubt, social domestication, and your addiction to soft corners. What is weakness, really? Not tears, not a small frame, not even sloppy discipline. Weakness is emotional submission, the reflex to ask permission to exist, the habit of renting your self-worth to people who can't hold their own, the choice to keep the peace instead of telling the truth, the reflex to call laziness self-care and fear humility and insecurity empathy. Weakness isn't the absence of power, it's the presence of self-betrayal, and the modern world, engineered to sand you down. Classrooms award compliance. Culture enforces sameness. Algorithms feed helplessness dressed up as awareness. And even some who love you quietly profit from your softness, your hush, your hesitation. They praise your selflessness and reward your restraint, not because it frees you but because it keeps you small, predictable, dependent, and forgettable. He saw this herd alchemy and warned that the individual must struggle not with fists but in psyche to avoid being absorbed by the tribe. The task is to remain dangerous or precise, contained voltage, not violent, not chaotic, but edged in a world that worships polish and obedience. Step 1 is clarity. You've been taught to confuse weakness with goodness. To believe no is rude, boundaries are selfish, choosing yourself is narcissism. Flip the map. The strength, that earns real respect, that makes your name stick in rooms, is born from rejecting herd thinking, safety, theater, and the need to be liked. So who are you without the reflex to be liked? Strip the filters, stop curating. If no one demanded you be agreeable, humble, unobtrusive, who would you be? What would you ask for? What would you refuse? What doors would you close without apology? Most can't answer because they don't possess a self so much as a mask engineered by feedback. He despised that, because the moment you round off your truth to fit a system, you've already ceded your sovereignty. And you know the bill, the quiet resentment that hums at 2 a.m., the slow burn frustration, the fatigue that sleep won't touch. This isn't burnout. It's the tax for muzzling your deeper instincts to keep the surface smooth. You weren't built to be endlessly soft, endlessly tolerant, or twofold at a raised eyebrow. You were built to carry a sharper integrity, primal, but still, unshakable, but not reckless. And you feel weak only because you've starved that organ so long you doubt it exists. It does. And we're going to dig it out. Start with your mornings, because sovereignty dies in ritual. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. If your first act is to bow to the screen, you've forfeited the day. Not because glass is evil, but because you conceded authorship, scrolling, comparing, envying, rationalizing. Each tiny capitulation, deconditioned, self-command. Claim the dawn. Before you touch a pixel, touch your spine, your breath, your aim. Remind yourself you are a creator before a consumer, a builder before a spectator, a strategist before a scroller, and your energy isn't available to algorithms upon waking. Then language. Weakness leaks through the mouth when you dilute your stance to keep others comfortable, when you whisper your opinions so no one bristles, when you say I don't know though you do, when you apologize for taking up air. Every needless qualifier is a thread snipped from your backbone. People feel it, that's why they cut you off, talk over you, file you under harmless. Nietzsche didn't whisper, he wrote like a lit match. He expects your speech to be clean and undeniable, not loud clear. Clarity is force, it quiets rooms. Say it once, say it plain, let silence do the heavy lifting. Most fear silence because silence creates tension, and tension clarifies status. You won't fear it, you'll let it work for you. Now emotion, strength isn't numbness, it's command. You can feel the entire weather system and still choose your next move. When disrespected, you don't explode, plead, or litigate. You hold the line. You wait. You answer with a surgical cut if and when it serves the mission. Weakness is emotion without awareness. Strength is emotion under discipline. Stop calling yourself just emotionally own that you're untrained and trained. Discipline isn't cold, it's clean. It's the difference between collapsing in tears and allowing tears without surrender and victorhood. He called that a subtle slavery of the soul, not a denial of pain, but a refusal to enthrone it. Stop telling your life as a tragedy. Stop weaponizing your scars for sympathy. Stop fastening your identity to what happened. Transmute. The world cares less about your wounds than about what you do with them, and your why. It's not a treasure you dig up, it's an oath you make. Carve it into your calendar until distractions die of neglect. Choose who do you serve, what do you build, what oath protects your future, what ends today, and write it so it can judge you. If you don't pick a why, the world assigns you one. Be agreeable, be safe, be small, decline the assignment. We go deeper. The real chokehold is existential stories absorbed before you could name them. Definitions you inherited, contracts you signed with fear when you were too young to read the fine print. One of the oldest is the terror of aloneness. You trained your whole life to belong. Classrooms rewarded raised hands. Friends policed your edges. Family trimmed your inconvenient parts. Relationships taught you to be non-threatening and conflated acceptance with love. Acceptance is lifeless inclusion that demands you shrink. He'd look you dead on and say, to know yourself you must be able to stand alone. Belonging has a price, and most pay with authenticity, strength, and individuality. Not you, not anymore. Unlearn the addiction. Build your own table. If no one comes, perfect. More room, more signal, less noise. Solitude over submission. Now, we expose procrastination and sabotage, not laziness or loyalty to the past. Once you learned that shining created distance, honesty drew punishment, and ambition brought loneliness, so you softened yourself to keep the circle intact. That was survival, not sin. But that contract has expired. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be felt. Intensity and decisiveness will make average people uncomfortable. Good. The snake that cannot shed its skin perishes, and so do souls that cannot change their minds. Rip the skin, the people pleaser, the second guesser, the overthinker, the emotional translator of tactics now, because philosophy without practice is theater. Language. Eliminate the hedge words that erode your spine. Maybe, just kind of sorry when there's no moral harm. Say yes when it's yes, no when it's no. Stop over-explaining. If they demand justification, let your boundary be the period. Body. Rewrite your frame. Most move like prey. Rounded shoulders, downcast eyes, shallow breath. Square your stance. Expand your ribs. Lengthen your exhale. Slow your gait. Act like you're observed, and your nervous system will calibrate to leadership. Environmental weakness thrives in clutter and ease. Create friction for your vices. Remove apps. Exile the phone from the bedroom. Clear your desk every night. Lay out tomorrow's tools before sleep. Design a nostril zone where the only options are reading, writing, or working. People. The circle. Stop trading truth for company. Surround yourself with those who respect you more than they like you and who prefer your growth over your comfort. Worship daily. The habit of finishing builds a spine money can't buy. If you can't do a big thing, do a small thing right now and let momentum compound. Process. Act your way into clarity. The muscle of certainty grows from decisions, not debate. Set a cadence. Weekly difficult conversation. Weekly hard skill hour. Daily deep work block. Daily nervous system reset. Walks without audio. Breath. Sunlight. Oaths. Pick 3 non-negotiables and let them judge you. I train my body daily. I build before I consume. I keep my word even when it costs me. Track them every night with ink. Language as spellcraft code. Don't say I'm trying, say I'm doing. Don't say I hope, say I intend. Don't say I can't, say I choose not to. Your tongue scripts your nervous system. Presence. Become unhurried. Urgency without hurry is what respect feels like. When you enter a room, let your breath arrive before your words. When you speak, give fewer sentences, more weight. When someone disrespects your boundary, enforce it once and only once. Consequences teach faster than lectures. Courage. Set hard edges. A conflict you've dodged, a truth you've bent, a request you've avoided. Handle one each day. Fear shrinks when chased. Ambition. Claim a direction fierce enough to make you willing to lose people who only loved the smaller you. That's the toll. You pay it and keep moving. Refinement. Be kind, but not soft. Generous, but not leaking. Patient, but not passive. Sharp doesn't mean cruel. and calm doesn't mean compliant. You're aiming for the middle path of the lion, quiet, watchful, decisive, wealth of attention guarded like gold. Attention is your only real currency. Budget it, invest it, and refuse to spend it on outrage and envy. You'll notice within weeks that the fatigue lifts, the resentment cools, and a clean, heavy, quiet moves in. This is what sovereignty feels like. You don't need to be loud because your certainty does the speaking. And understand this, you will fail, you will backslide, you will forget. None of that matters if you return. The difference between the formidable and the forgettable isn't perfection, it's return speed. Every rep is a vote. Keep voting. Somewhere under all that noise, the real you has been listening and nodding, remembering what it feels like to move without apology. To guard your energy like a king guards his borders. To leave rooms that shrink you. To say no with a chest. And yes, only to what sharpens you. To sit in silence and feel no ache to fill it. This isn't hype, it's homecoming, and there's a line you crossed by reading this Farabi Wappas Nahin. You can't unknow it. From here you evolve or you lie. Choose to become the one Nietzsche would recognize, not the loudest, not the richest, not the most praised, but the most real, the person who meets their own eyes without a flinch. Make that your standard and defend it like your life depends on it, because it does. And when the world tries to hand you its old script, be agreeable, be safe, be small, you'll smile, place it back in their hands, and walk away at a pace that tells them everything they need to know.